morning, everyone. It's Monday. Hey, beginning of the work week, and this is my first live broadcast with the hashtag Casey said it. So I'm just gonna warn you. I might say something that will piss you the hell off, and I might say something that you might agree with, but this is just my opinion and this is my platform. So, and it's also my social media. So, you don't like it, turn me off. That's how it is. All right, I'm starting at 7:15 because I'm not in a lot of traffic. I live in the DMV area, and one of the things after moving here that I really detest is the traffic in this DMV area. It is so unpredictable. So I'm taking the streets into work because there was a backup on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway this morning that looked kind of crazy. It probably took me, it would have taken me almost 2 hours to get to work knowing that parkway anyway. But anyway, my topic is the topic of what's happened recently that's been buzzing around on social media, and it's dealing with the subject of book banning. And there is a school district, an independent school district in Texas, and it is the Katy, Katy school district. And for whatever reasons, the superintendent decided to take the book, The Hate U Give by Angie Thomas, off of the shelf. He had the book pulled. Now, I'm not certain he had it pulled just for middle schools or if it was just the high school, but at any rate, he had the book pulled off the shelf. Now, this is very disheartening to me because, and many other librarians, we feel the same way. And the reason why is that book banning should not be taking place. A school library should have within its collection a myriad of books that celebrate different views, different opinions, different types of stories that kids will enjoy. And also, the library as a whole is a place of discovery where maybe you live in a certain type of neighborhood and you're curious to see how other people are living. Well, by reading a story, you can learn what others experience in our society that we share. So, these are positives about having those types of diverse, and I'm not talking about diverse with in terms of race. I'm talking about more of diverse in terms of diversity in views and experiences and cultures and so forth. It's great to have those types of books represented in your school library. Now, when you get down to race, it's also great to have these books within the collection because, as I said in a previous blog post in my Miss Domino blog, is that the voice of not just the street lit writer, but the voice of the writer needs to be heard, and they need to be celebrated. All views are valid, and by having books that are written by people that are from different races, different cultures, there's a different lens that the story is told from, and it may be very unlike your own. And our kids need to be experienced. They need to have that experience. They need to be exposed to those types of writings that are written by various authors of color and also authors of different cultures. I think her handle on Twitter is Library Girl, and she hit it right on the nail. I saw a tweet by her, and essentially what she was saying is, when we get into this book banning like this and pulling books off the shelf, you find out many times that the book has been written by a person of color, and there's a lack of understanding of the person or the people who made the decision to pull that book off of the shelf. I'm finding with me supporting street literature so heavily, I'm finding that street literature falls under that same criticism heavily. A lot of the books that I have always promoted over the years that are written by books that fall under the street lit genre, oftentimes you have people that just don't understand the story. and instead of cracking the book open and reading it, and they kind of judge it by faith, by the cover of the book, and they say, well, we're not going to have this book in our collection, and that's that. So I don't know if that's the case, what happened with Thomas's book. Personally speaking, I've reviewed Thomas' book, The Hate You Give. It is excellent, and it is really a telling it really describes what's going on in our society, written from a teenager's point of view. Is that we have issues with police brutality in this country, and this is what happens when teens experience police brutality. This child, Star, the protagonist in the story, loses her friend of many years, and through the story, Thomas does an excellent job weaving an explanation of what Star is experiencing, her inner thoughts. We don't have that a lot in young adult literature, in terms of, you have this protagonist and she's experiencing loss like this, and in the way she experienced loss. Her loss was at the hands of the police, and police in our communities are supposed to protect and serve, right? Well, this is a direct contradiction to the experience that she had with the police that night that her friend was killed. Now, I don't want to give away the story. I know a lot of people have read the story already, but I'm pretty certain there's a lot of people that are out here who have not read The Hate You Give. So I don't want to go really get deep into the story, because I don't want to give it away. But the thing is that it's disheartening that a superintendent will have a book pulled, and clearly he did not follow the reconsideration of challenged materials policy that should be in place within his district. And I understand that there's librarians that are in that district, and Texas has a wonderful library schools, and they produce a lot of great school librarians. I'm certain that those librarians' hands are tied, and I understand where their position, that they can't fight this directly, but they're fighting it indirectly, because they did. I think that they alerted people outside of the Texas community or the school district community to let them know, hey, this superintendent is banning books, and the book that he's banned is The Hate You Give. So, my hat goes off to him, because I know it cannot be easy to sit by and watch this take place, because the book has received so many awards, and it's been a New York Times bestseller. And I'm not saying this because it's a New York Times bestseller. It's a great book, but after reading the book, I have found that the book is excellent written. It's just an excellent book that has been written, that's for teens. All teens should be reading it. And I really, 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 really hope that they can find a resolution to this very quickly. School superintendents are walking on a very, very delicate line. And by them walking on a very, very delicate line, they're very, very careful about controversies. They do not want to have their parents in an uproar regarding a potential complaint on books and so forth that they might find as controversial. So what they do is, instead of following what's called a reconsideration of challenged materials policy, this is called a selection policy. I'm sorry, someone just jumped in front of me, fool. Anyway, instead of following the policies for the reconsideration of materials, they just pull a book off the shelf. That's all that they do. And they feel like, okay, well, I'm the big cheese in charge. I pull the book off the shelf in the story. What they don't understand is that there's a lot that's embedded in this process, and how this is really a huge violation to just pull a book off the shelf. So they call themselves like, I'm going to, avoid a problem. I'm going to have this book pulled in the story. But in the long run, they're creating a huge a avalanche of issues, because now the American Library Association will jump in the middle of this, and they'll say, hey, you know, this is considered book banning. This is not a positive positive thing for you to do for your school district, you know, and it'll be essentially an embarrassment for that superintendent. The bottom line is that, you know, people that complain about books and its content, 9 times out of 10, those jokers have never even read the book. That's really what it comes down to. They take a section or an excerpt and it's taken out of context, and they say, okay, the book shouldn't be on the shelf. This is just ridiculous. Hey, Wahida, how you doing? Hi, Blessed Stitch. Thank you for joining the broadcast. This is just something that really gets on my last nerve. And this happens a lot with street literature books. Because when I was first promoting these books back about 10 years ago, I was constantly bombarded with this whole issue and complaint. Oh, the language, oh, this. You know what? I have seen some books, that very popular books that kids are reading, and some of them have language, they have sex, they have issues dealing with death, they have issues dealing with suicide, and it seems like it's okay. But when it's a black face, it's a black story, it's a black protagonist, then that's when everybody loses their cotton picking minds. And actually, I get really tired of this. You know, thank God Angie Thomas has so many sales on the New York Times bestseller list, you know, so people will also take a look at this again and say, hey, wait a minute, if this book is selling out so many places, it can't be that bad, you know. And really, if anything, this superintendent, somebody should have talked to him from his team to sit him down and say, hey, look, you really need to take a read of this book before you make this drastic decision. The last school district I worked in, I was a head librarian, and one of the first things I did was I got a reconsideration policy put in place, because I knew that it was a smaller school district. The temptation is even higher in those smaller school districts to do just that, is to pull books when they feel that it's not appropriate. There is policy and procedure that's behind doing these things. School leadership really should keep the needs of the kids first and foremost. These kids out here are hurting, and in some of these books that are out here, they will actually help our students in the long run. And by pulling books and thinking, oh, this is what they should not read, actually, those are the books they should be reading, because it's going to help them out in the long run. And again, I say this and I repeat this over and over again. We don't give our students enough credit for being the young people and the intelligent people that they are. Our young people are very smart. They are not going to run out and just do something because they see something written in the book. They know right from wrong. They really do. And I hope this school district really reconsiders their actions, because if anything, this is a beautiful story, and I feel that not only just this story, but there's other stories that are written that are similar to this story, to this particular story, and I think that in the long run, it's going to be, hey babe, good morning, that this is going to be the beginning of something very good. And I just hope that they will go back to the drawing board, and somebody in their district will read the book, and they would trust the opinion, most importantly, of their librarians who have selected the books in the first place to place on the shelf. That's where some of the problems falling in, is that they don't want to it sounds like they don't want to trust the judgment of the librarians, whose job it is to select books for the collection for the children. Sad. So that was my addendum to my broadcast earlier. I was very formal, but now I'm ranting, but I can't help but do it. But I'm at work right now, so I got to get inside the building. You all have a wonderful day. Bye.